Morning, fellow sheepdogs. I wanted to send or do a quick video this morning on preparing for guest speakers and special events at your church. Now, most special events that happen on a regular basis have a little bit of time before they happen for you to plan. And if you do a regular event, like say in the summertime, your church does VBS or that sort of thing, the success of that event, or in some cases the success of the event's or special speaker, really kind of comes down to planning. I think most of us are familiar and are aware of that. But what I want to talk about a little bit more in detail is how to plan for a special event or situation with safety and security. So if you have a repetitious event where your church door's open, you've got a lot of new people coming in, or you're doing an event like VBS, where it's every year it's the same, it's the last week in July or the last week in June, that sort of thing, you should have a pretty decent amount of time to sit down with your church leadership and say, okay, from a safety perspective, what do we need? We need first aid people. We need to be planning for an influx of membership visitors. Maybe we need to have more people by the doors, or just more teams of people, safety and security people available to respond to different situations. Better comms, better organization. You may want to get to the point of, if you do indoor-outdoor activities, actually having someone with a first aid kit outdoors, and someone in charge of that, versus indoors and having to go back and forth if your campus is too big. Our campus, my church campus, is pretty large, and typically what we do, say for VBS, a VBS event, where we have over 300 kids during the week, because we go inside outside, I usually set up a team of 2 people outside and 2 teams of 2 inside. So 4 people outside, 4 people inside, 2 people outside. So a total of 6 with a director or assistant director that can supervise that. Usually works pretty good. The people that are outside have a first aid kit or trauma bag. And then if something serious happens, people respond accordingly. So we kind of handle it that way. Special speakers, guest speakers, that's a little bit different. And I encourage church safety and security directors, or whatever your official title is in that role, to have a regular open relationship with pastors to know when a guest is coming in or when the service is going to be different than normal. Usually my pastor calls me and he'll say, even if it's a Friday or Saturday night, he'll give me a heads up and he'll say, hey, James, just letting you know, this coming Sunday is going to be a little bit different than most Sundays. Now, I have access. We use planning services or planning center services for all of our scheduling, different ministries and stuff like that. And we put our Sunday morning service notes in there as well. So typically Friday night or maybe Saturday, usually Friday night, I'll pull it up and I will actually look at the notes for the sermon on Sunday and see if anything catches my eye. Now, unless I know that there's somebody special that's coming in, like a guest speaker, I don't typically, I just glance through it and that's it. So I did that last night for my church. Now, as an example, on the 28th of this month, we have a special guest speaker that's coming and preaching for three messages, three services, which is great. I'm looking forward to it. He's a great guy, very well spoken. But one of the things that typically pops into my mind is, let me do a little bit of research on this person's background and see, what they're comfortable with, what they're about. Okay. And the reason I always ask that is I know some churches, when a guest speaker comes in, they'll have a safety team member shadow that person and kind of hang out with them and help them pick them up from the airport. That's fantastic. If you have the resources to do that, I strongly encourage you to do that. In my situation on the 28th, the individual that's coming in is actually a very, very nationally prominent individual. And because he has been at the forefront of Christianity and conservatism in recent events and things in the last few years, it prompts me to say, okay, well, you know what? He could have a following. He could have individuals that want to show up and do him harm, because obviously our church is open for folks that aren't members to come in and hear him or see him. No different if we did a concert. You know, when we do a concert at our church, the doors are open for, you know, the public to come in and enjoy that music. That's great. But if somebody doesn't like that speaker or like something that they said, maybe on a blog or podcast online or Facebook Live, social media, then that also paints a target. So what I will do is I will contact the pastor and see if in the course of probably next Friday, in the course of time, if the church has received any unusual phone calls or any complaints or threats or anything like that. Now, with my church, most of the time, if we get a call like that, I'm usually the second or third person that gets that call, and they'll say, "Hey, we got this. You know, how do you want us to handle it?" And I'll say, "Well, document stuff, call the police, you know, file a report, that sort of thing." But with the guests, if nothing has happened to the church, then a lot of times when the guest gets there, I will introduce myself to him and I'll say, "Hello, Mr. or Sir. You know, my name's James McGarvey. I'm the safety director here, and I just wanted 30 seconds of your time." And then I'll say, "Hey, I was just wondering if you've had any recent tangible threats or statements made to you that you would consider threatening." And at that point, a lot of times, you know, they'll answer honestly. They'll say, you know, either yes, and then we'll take additional precautions, having someone shadow that individual, or they could come back and say, "No, you know, everything's been really quiet lately," and that's fine. We had a guest speaker a couple months ago that is on the radio a lot, and he came in and I pulled him aside and I said, you know, "Hello, sir, I appreciate you coming in today. I just wanted to ask you one question. Have you received any threats on the phone, anything like that?" And he looked at me and he said, "No, absolutely not. I'm really good." But, and I said, "Okay, great. I just wanted to ask, you know," and kind of walk away. And he grabbed me and he said, "No," he said, I just want to tell you, that makes me feel welcome. I really appreciate coming in and knowing that the scene and the church and everything is secure and safe, and that's not something I have to worry about. So let me tell you how much you guys are blessing me by being here." And I was really taken aback by that, because again, I'm not doing this for a thank you or necessarily to always bless them. I was looking at it as, he's a guest speaker, he's blessing me by being here. But take a few minutes, introduce yourself. I know sometimes it's nervous if that person is more predominant in social media or society, but take a few minutes and just go up to them. If you're the safety director or you lead that ministry, and say, "Hey, welcome. I just wanted to let you know if you need anything, maybe here's my cell phone number. I'm happy to help you. But is there anything that I should know about?" Maybe they've gotten phone calls the last few weeks. I can tell you, I've posted before in this group of pastors that have received phone calls where the entire thing was blanked out. Pastor Greg Locke posts a lot on Facebook and does a lot of social media stuff. I've met him before. I've done safety at his speaking engagements and security there. And you know what? He regularly, almost weekly, gets a phone call. And he has like 10,000 plus followers on Facebook, but he regularly gets phone calls where people are threatening to do stuff to him and his family. So being prepared, you know, not out of the question. Walk up, talk to him, and set yourself up for success. So take care. I just wanted to mention that. Have a great day.